Hey everyone, it's Vu again, and today we're going to be talking about something that I get asked a lot, and that is, am I too old to learn how to program? And I get that a lot. We're going to talk about it, so let's jump right into it. I think typically when people ask me this question, they kind of ask it in twofold, right? So the first fold is, am I too old to cognitively be able to learn still how to acquire the skill that is programming, right? So that's number one. And then number two is, am I too old to be able to make a career switch for me to where I can put the programming to get a good use, so where I can get like a good financial return out of it. I think starting with number two first, if it's a good financial decision, I think there's a study out there that shows that most people on average will hit their peak earning potential somewhere in their mid 40s to early 50s, which basically means that if you're working in your career, you can kind of expect to be having the biggest salary around these ages, right? So if you think about that in the perspective of whether programming will have a good return on investment, I would say, if you're above the age of 45 or above the age of 50 or so, that's when it really is dependent on your situation, right? So let's say you're 55 years old, and you're working kind of like a dead-end job making $10 an hour, then yes, learning how to program is still going to be valuable for you because you probably still have, maybe 5 years or so left of being able to work productively as a person. So that calculation like totally makes sense. Let's say on the other hand, you have like a pretty solid career, you're earning pretty decent money, and you're 50 years old, right? Is it too late for you to make a career switch? Maybe, probably, but it kind of depends on the situation. I would say that if you are under the age of 45 and you're wondering if it's okay for you to switch, the answer is almost always yes, unless I don't know, maybe you work in finance and you're like a really wealthy banker or something like that, then maybe then you need to find other reasons for you to want to switch. But almost always, I would say the answer is yes, just because of how much money tech is able to pay out. So the second angle of this question that people kind of want to know is, am I cognitively too old? Like, is my mind like so decrepit and so old where, if I learn programming, it's not going to stick? I think the answer to that one is a lot more simple. And the answer is, you're almost never too old, maybe asterisk there, right? So I think this is one of those things that kind of a myth or maybe not super well understood yet, right? So neuroplasticity, your ability to kind of learn and absorb knowledge over time. We have like these, idioms like you can't teach an old dog new tricks and whatnot for a reason, right? It's been a myth in our society for a long time. And the myth goes that, as you get older, your ability to learn and retain information kind of goes down, your cognitive ability goes down. Therefore, if you learn something new like programming, then it becomes difficult with age. I think there are some truths to your cognitive function, but from what I understand, and I'll link like kind of the studies below, a lot of that has to do with your motor control. So it is true that your motor control, so like your dexterity with your hands, your reflexes and stuff like that go down over time. But there's been extensive like studies that show that your ability to learn and retain and spit back information doesn't really decline at all, if not just a little bit over time. So what I'm saying is basically, until you're probably like 80 and barring some big cognitive decline or dementia, you should probably still be good to learn new skills up until that entire age, right? So you have all the time in the world to learn. So if it's never too late to learn how to program, why is it that I get this question so much, right? I think we're always trying to compare ourselves to other people. We look at ourselves, like maybe you're 20 years old. You're comparing yourself to that 13-year-old that learned how to program and is like a whiz that you see on, on the internet, and you think, oh my gosh, like I'm 7 years too old to start. It's all a matter of perspective, because like I guarantee you as a 20-year-old, somebody is comparing themselves to you, right? The 30-year-old is comparing themselves to you, saying, oh my gosh, I wish I was 20. My brain was so much faster back then I would learn how to program. And then, with that 30-year-old, like some 40-year-old out there is comparing them to them, so age and just like kind of wondering if it's too late is like this excuse that we tell ourselves because we're kind of like afraid to fail, or we want to take the easy route. Learning how to program, learning a new skill, making a career change is not simple. It requires a lot of dedication, motivation, and pain tolerance, to be honest. And oftentimes, we look for excuses not to feel this pain, obviously, because it is painful, and we as humans want to avoid pain. But because of this pain avoidance, sometimes we make fabrications, like excuses in our mind, and one of those excuses is we're too old, right? When I was 18 years old, that's when I learned how to program. I kid you not, like by age 19, 20, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like how would I ever be a good programmer compared to my other colleagues and peers? And my peers, they were programming when they were like 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And I'm glad I stuck through it and continued as I did, because imagine if I didn't, then I just wouldn't be as successful as I am today, and all because of some stupid thing telling me I can't in my brain, right? So hey, if you are under the age of like 80, you can learn. If you are under the age of 50, then it probably 90% makes financial sense for you. Don't let those excuses in your head kind of get in the way of that. You're going to be fine. Anyways, that's my video, and if this was helpful, if this perspective was helpful, definitely hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again next week or something. All right?